You probably know the NASCAR Cup Series, the racing championship where you
Won't you fly free, bird, yeah.
But have you ever wondered how did this all started? Well, I did. So after binge watching the Three Cars movies and Days of Thunder, I feel totally qualified to tell you the birth of NASCAR. To understand the birth of NASCAR, you have to understand a little bit of American history, which I do not know about. But I will let American me explain it to you. In the 1920s, the United States was going through one of the roughest eras according to alcoholics and recovering alcoholics, the Prohibition. This was a law passed in 1990 and put in effect in 1920 that prohibited the manufacturing, sale, and transportation of alcohol in the United States in hopes to reduce domestic violence, industrial accidents caused by drunkenness, and corruption. And I don't know a lot about politics, nor I want to get into politics, but if you want people to be less violent, maybe don't take away what they love. Like, imagine if they do this shit in Germany today. The Prohibition led to the rise of gangsters like Al Capone and overall more violence or protests because there was no way to calm people down because they didn't have booze. This led to the birth of the Moonshiners, groups of people in the rural areas of the United States that started crafting corn-based whiskey in underground locations. But of course, if someone is trying to make it, someone is also trying to move it, and here comes the bootleggers. The bootleggers were groups of mentally ill maniacs of speed that moved alcohol in routes from Canada or the Caribbean, where it was legal, to different parts of America, where it wasn't legal. Often, to outrun the police cars trying to take the whiskey, they would modify their cars to make them faster and more powerful, a practice that came from drugging racehorses? So you're telling me the Mustang is a coke addict? Anyways, one of the most prominent figures of this time was George Remus, known as the king of bootleggers. So if they ask you who's the goat of NASCAR, forget about Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt and Lightning McQueen. It's obviously this guy right here. Therefore, alcohol smugglers became the national heroes who deserve a little fun every now and then, and with this came the birth of stock car racing. The bootleggers started gathering in dirt roads and cow pastures of states like North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee to test their might in cars to see who was the fastest bootlegger. Essentially, it was a hold my beer moment, but hold my whiskey moment. And you'd think these guys would make some money off these gatherings, but no, it was purely bragging rights. See, even then racing had egos. In 1936, one of the first major stock car races was hosted in Daytona Beach, Florida. The 250-mile race represented a huge financial loss for the city as the cars were struggling to drive in the sand. The race eventually was stopped at 75 laps, 3 laps shorter than the initially scheduled distance, as many drivers had to abandon the race due to their cars stalling in the sand. Amongst the drivers that took part in this race was a man who would revolutionize stock car racing and take it to where it is today, Bill France Sr. In December of 1947, Bill France Sr., who at the time had already competed and promoted a few races around Florida, gathered racing drivers, who were mostly bootleggers, car owners, who were mostly bootleggers, and mechanics, who mostly worked for bootleggers, into the equivalent of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And so, on the 21st of February 1948, the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing was born, which we now know as NASCAR. And from that day onwards, the rest is history. NASCAR not only made stock car racing one of the most popular racing forms in the world and an international sensation with races like the Daytona 500 and movies like Cars and Days of Thunder, which I'm pretty sure Cars is one of the reasons a lot of kids my age eventually fell in love with cars and racing. And I just hope the equivalent of Cars of the next generation isn't the Formula 1 movie. That would be a generational downfall. Anyways, to finish off the video, if you're a new NASCAR fan like me, I'm pretty sure you're already loving this season because the races have been great so far. Personally, I'm still waiting for this guy to win a race. And if you haven't watched NASCAR, please give it a try. Trust me, you won't regret it at all.